It's Manchester City versus Liverpool in the Premier League this weekend. It's the best versus the second best in the Premier League. Is Pep Guardiola and his men at Man City capable of challenging Liverpool again for this title? What's going to happen come kickoff in relation to Liverpool's starting lineup? Will Jota rightfully retain his place in the starting lineup? Will Firmino start? Will there be a three-man midfield or 4-2-3-1 with Firmino in the number 10 role? There's a lot to discuss today. We want your views. We want your opinions. Make sure you smash the living daylights out of that like button right now. But here we go. Yes. Welcome back to the Football Terrace. We're joined, making his debut on the StreamYard stream tonight, is man like Terry Tibbs in the house. I'd actually say that one of the most competent and well-spoken Liverpool fans we have on the show. We're, of course, joined by Ram. I'm not sure where Ram's camera's gone. I don't know what he's going to do. Is he going to do a gender reveal or something? I have no idea. He's just going to come out and be like, I'm no longer Ram. I'm now Ramanini or something. I don't know. And we've got man like Adam Charles in the house as well. Big game this weekend, gentlemen. But first and foremost, how are we all doing? How are we all enjoying the first couple of days of... Oh, here he is. Here's Ram. How's everyone enjoying the first couple of days of lockdown?
Well, we're getting out of it on Monday, so...
Oh, yeah, you're in Cardiff, isn't it? Yeah, that's true. It's true.
Oh, mad. Yeah, no,
yeah, so I'm good.
Just killing the time, man. I'm not looking forward to it, but you just gotta. I think I'm gonna get fat again. That's the only issue.
Yeah, no, mate, I hear that, and the bit for me is like, why did they have to? I know it isn't been done for this reason, but it's like, why start it just as the international break's beginning? Like, come on, man. We could have done two weeks ago as an example. But big game this weekend. Can Manchester City stop Liverpool that have found that little bit of form going into this game? Obviously, Adam's here as a neutral, as am I. We've got a couple of Liverpool fans with us. If there are any City fans watching that want to get involved, make sure you send us a message in relation to that. I'm going to start with Terry Tibbs, who's back on the show, making his debut via StreamYard. How confident are you, Terry, ahead of this game against Man City?
I wouldn't say I'm very confident. I'd say, it's going to be a good game. I think if we go in with me personally wanting Jota to start and Mane and Salah on either side, I think it's going to be a well-contested game. I think both teams recently haven't really been up to scratch, have they? And I think both teams are going to want to take this and sort of, make runs towards the title, I suppose. I think I'm looking forward to it, definitely, though. But yeah, I think in terms of, I'm worried. I am, yeah. To be honest,
I understand that. Like City is such an interesting team. They're not the same force they were a couple of years ago, where they did 100 points and 98 points respectively. But they still have top quality players. And Liverpool's defense, by the way, you were immaculate midweek against Atalanta, absolutely sublime. But Liverpool's defense has been left a little bit wanting in recent games. We know City can, of course, play. Ram, from your point of view, is this about who's the pressure on going into this game, City or Liverpool? Who do you think's feeling it the most?
I think it's Liverpool. I think Liverpool will be feeling the pressure. They're the champions. They're looking to retain their title. I mean, Klopp has openly said that he was going to attack the league, and it hasn't been the fiery start that we were planning on having. But I think the pressure is going to be on Liverpool, because I think mainly Man City, not a lot of pressure is given to them by the media and like fans, because I don't want to be rude, but they don't have a lot of fans around the world.
Yeah, there isn't any pressure on City from that point of view, and it's almost, I feel like with City, if they lose and end up being 8 points behind you this early, they're still not going. Nothing's going to be said about Pep. Like this week, we're not going to have to bring them up on this show. I know a few people would say, Terry, concentrate on your own team. But listen, it's not all we do here. You're going to have to get over it. Like, you guys could end up being 8 points in front of City this early on in the season, but I almost guarantee there's going to be no talk from the media about a bad start to the campaign by Pep. Pep just gets this free ride like I have never seen a football club and a manager get in Premier League history. They are the most expensive squad. They've spent somewhere in the region of, some countries don't spend as much on food for their poor as Man City have spent on defenders. And yet they could be 8 points off the top of the table, 7 games, eight games into the campaign. We're now starting to get a fair way in. We're now starting to get towards almost a quarter of the games gone. So we're getting significantly into the league now. It's an interesting one. Adam, from your point of view, bro, like there's no love lost between you and Liverpool. Would you put the pressure on Liverpool saying you're the best team? You're top of the league. You've only lost 1 game. Is it on Liverpool to go out and attack this game? Or, if they walk away with just a draw, is that still job done? What are you saying?
Yeah, the pressure is definitely on Liverpool. Let's be serious. Like Klopp has already said, Liverpool are going to come out and attack the title. They're the defending champions. Virgil van Dijk is injured, so the pressure is definitely on them to show that they're not just maybe not a one-man team, but to show that they're not just over-reliant on Virgil to plug their defense. We've heard so many stories about how Joe Gomez is top 2, 3, 4 in the league. I want him to show and prove, and I also want to see who is going to step in and fill that void that Virgil van Dijk has left. Not only that, I've heard a lot of talk about Firmino not just being his lack of goals is not worrying. So I want to see how Klopp is going to get around the issue of him not scoring, but Jota being playing excellently. And yeah, it's a real test of his credentials now. I want to see what he's saying.
I hear that. I mean, are you guys convinced when it comes to your defense? Can your defense this weekend, you have a comment here from James LFC, cope with Man City's attack? Because I know this is going to upset Liverpool fans when I say this, but if you look at your last 4 or 5 games, outside of how brilliant you were midweek, everyone's opened you up. Even Midtjylland, when they played you, they had 2 or 3 opportunities where they should have scored. Man City are, of course, are superior to everybody else. Does that worry you both?
I think from that perspective, yeah, definitely does worry you, but it definitely does worry us. Definitely, the chances that teams have created against us have been, like a wave sort of thing coming at us. And I've always thought against better opposition, we're going to pay the price for that. But let's just talk about Virgil van Dijk being out for the side for the second. Since Virgil van Dijk went out of the side, we've won every single game or drawn every single game. He was in the side against Aston Villa that shifted 7 past us. Right, I think if Nat Phillips comes in, because he was brilliant the other day when he come on man of the match performance when he started his first Premier League game, I'll put Nat Phillips in because I think he was absolutely brilliant. He was physical. He commanded that back line with Joe Gomez, and I thought, give him a good run out because I reckon he can do a good job. I really do. I really rate Nat Phillips. He's a really good youngster.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And I think you're absolutely right in what you say. You were shipping goals and you were leaking opportunities when Van Dijk was part of the system. I don't think Van Dijk being missing in the short or long term was the problem or the resolution to what was going on. But there's certainly been openings. And I think I've seen Liverpool opened up more than at any other point. But do you know what? As you say, it's 5 wins on the bounce since Virgil van Dijk got injured. You've conceded 3 goals in those 5 games, 3 clean sheets in that time, which is absolutely excellent. I don't think that can be denied. Monstar's joined us for this as well. Where's your head at, bro? We're going to get into like team selections. We're going to get into the Jota Firmino thing a little bit later. But in terms of this weekend, who's your money on, City or Liverpool?
My money's on City. Only reason why is that, listen, I'm not here to take the mick or anything, all of that, like I usually do. But when you look at the games Liverpool have played, they haven't really come under test since Van Dijk has gone down, innit? And this is going to be a real test of someone who's really going to put it on them. Do you know what I mean? Look, who have they played since Van Dijk's gone down? Like, can we name the teams? Rams. Who have you played?
West Ham, Atalanta, Midtjylland,
Sheffield United.
Sheffield United.
Come on, like seriously, Sheffield
And
United,
Everton.
who have only got one goal this season. Yeah, Van Dijk went down in the Everton game, so he did play the game, innit? So you've not really played anyone, if we're being honest, anyone with real attacking prowess like that. Do you know what I mean? I know people might say Atalanta, but come on, man, Mickey Mouse team, innit?
I think I'll pause on a great point there. The next two games for Liverpool in the Premier League are going to be big tests because you play City and then you play Leicester. I think I know Liverpool fans get triggered by this. I get the fact that you've done well since Van Dijk was injured. You haven't lost any games. You've kept quite a few clean sheets. But I think it's fair to say you haven't played any overly potent teams. Ajax, they're good. A very good result away from home against them. I thought they were poor themselves.
But Terry, that's an Ajax team who's practically lost everyone. They've lost Ziyech, De Ligt. They've lost all their players.
And I get that. And I think Atalanta, I thought were going to be a little bit better on the attack than they were. But Liverpool, I think, did excellent in that game and shut them down. But the next two matches, City and Leicester, I think are going to be the acid test for this defense without Joe Gomez and this team again. And I think we're going to get more answers. If you come through these next two games, you barely concede, you're not being torn open, you're winning these matches. For me, it's full steam ahead, Liverpool winning this title, no problems.
Yeah, I mean, to counteract Monster's argument there, what's happening, Monster? You're all right, mate. You can only beat who's in front of you at the end of the day. So it's not our fault. We've only played Ajax, Midtjylland, West Ham, Sheffield. And to be honest with you, we won every game. So as far as I'm concerned, you can only beat who's in front of you. I see what he's saying, but it comes back to I'm worried about our defence as well. Yeah, definitely, 100%. But Monster's right. We haven't played anyone with the attacking prowess of City or Leicester yet, so it's going to be a very good test. I would argue that Arsenal earlier in the season, when we had near enough a full strength squad, and we sort of put them to the sword a bit. And, in my opinion, Aubameyang's probably the best striker in the league. And what did he do? He went asleep on the side of the pitch and stayed there for 90 minutes.
Well, that's Aubameyang in most games against top six.
Like no.
Most games against top six. Do you know what helped Aubameyang? I love Aubameyang. I rate him as top class. But he had those couple of games in the FA Cup where he got those braces, and you deserve credit for that. Semi-finals and finals, clutch games, clutch performances, brilliant. Outside of that, against top six opponents, he's almost invisible. And yes, people say, he scored against United, but 2 seasons running at Old Trafford. Yeah, he did. But we've got the PE teacher, bro. Like we're supposed to be dead. We're supposed to be rubbish. You can't. This is what I love about rival fans, right? They celebrate Aubameyang's goals against a top 6 team when it's Man United, but in the next breath, they're saying that we're not a top 6 team, we're trash. Which of the two is it? I love the consistency, but we're not going to get drawn into an Arsenal.
Nah, let's not, because
I hear that. We're in the mud at the minute. We're absolutely in the mud in terms of that.
Yes.
Let's talk. I've got a super chat here first, actually. Get your super chats in, people. Make sure you're smashing the like button as well. I want your score predictions. Liverpool fans, are you confident? Are you nervous? Are you worried? What is going on in your head? Neil here says, of course, I want Jota to start, but Firmino is influential against City and breaks down their defense. Alisson will be the reason we will win this game. I want to speak Jota. I'm very biased towards Jota because he's an ex-client of mine. He's a gentleman I've had lunches with and dinners with and spoken to. He's an absolute sweetheart. But he is probably the most informed player in the Premier League at the moment. He's flying. I think he has to start. I'm going to go to Ram first on this. One, would you start him? And if he does start, what formation are you going with? Are you going 4-3-3? You're tried and tested, or are you going to go 4-2-3-1 and include Firmino in a sort of withdrawn number 10 role? What would you do, Ram?
Would I start Jota? Yeah, of course. Like his form has been nigh on incredible. Like is what he's done in the last couple of games been incredible. Would I play a 4-2-3-1 with Firmino in the 10? I don't think that's a good option because when we did that against Sheffield United and we weren't potent. We looked really bad with that formation. So I'll probably play a 4-3-3 with Henderson, Wijnaldum, and I don't know who the third centre midfielder because Keita isn't fit yet, and I don't want to whack in Curtis Jones into a massive game like this.
Why? See, I want to pull on that. See, this is nah. See, for me, this is, and I'd love Terry Tibbs' view on this. When I see these kind of games, this is where I look at it and think to myself, this is exactly when you should be throwing these players in. This is when you find out how good these players are. This is when you'll find out how good Jones is, how good Williams is, how good Nate Phillips is. When they play against the best teams, I think, I'm not saying start all of them, right? You may have to balance it. But I look at Curtis Jones, and this is the acid test. Can he perform as Phil Foden has done, as Rashford has done, as Trent has done in these important, decisive games? Why would you hide the players away from that, Ram?
Well, it's not only that, but he's also played a lot of minutes as well. Like, I don't want to burn the guy out because I think we need him in the December period, because December is going to be tough for all of us, even with our injuries. So I think fitness wise, I don't know, but if we have to, then I'm guessing we have to. But I'm only looking at it as fitness because I don't want him to get injured, because it'll be even.
Is Thiago still injured?
Thiago can't play.
Yeah, Thiago's out. According
what about Milner, guys?
I forgot about
What about him?
Surely it's going to be Milner, bro. I can't even he's not going to choose Curtis Jones over Milner, is he? Milner's like Mr. Reliable.
Do you know what it would be? It might be he could do a 4-2-3-1, but Wijnaldum's the 10. Because I said this like a couple of streams ago. Wijnaldum might play the number 10 role like he does for the Netherlands. We'll see. This
is according to who scored. I mean, they've got this is who they're saying's out and missing. So they're saying that obviously Van Dijk, the Ox, Fabinho, and Thiago
Fabinho's out as well.
Yeah,
he's out. He had the hamstring injury.
He's coming back after the international period.
From your point of view, Terry, I mean, would you play Curtis Jones? You know what? So firstly, let's go back to the original question. Jota, does he start for you? And if so, does Firmino miss out?
Yeah, I think on current form, Jota has to start, doesn't he? First name on the team sheet, really. I think he's going to play a front three of Mane, Jota, and Salah on the other side. In midfield, I think we need experience in this game, because I think, you know, with the likes of Kevin De Bruyne and, you know, Ferran Torres, Mahrez, all them playing, I think Adam's right. I think I'd choose Milner. I think I'd play a midfield Henderson, Milner and Wijnaldum. And then at the back, I'd play Robinson, Gomez, Nat Phillips, and Alexander-Arnold. That would be my starting 11 personally, just purely on the basis of experience. And then obviously, I'd give Jones a run out on about the 70th minute, depending on what the scoreline's looking like. Bring him on, introduce him to the big games. Let's see what he can do.
Yeah, I think that's not a bad choice. A super chat here. Get your super chats in, people. Get your questions in for the panel this afternoon. It says, what about 4-2-3-1 with Firmino as a 10 and 2 holding midfield players? Could that work?
I mean, it's actually a 10 already, isn't it?
Yeah, we saw it against Sheffield United. It didn't work. Like, we still didn't create a lot of chances. So I prefer 4-3-3 where the players have understood that formation for 3 years.
And what about Baby Keita? Why wouldn't Baby Keita start the game?
Is he not? I don't know. Is he fit? I don't know if he's fit or not. If he
is fit. He is fit. I wouldn't play him in this game because he's only just come back. He only had a few minutes against Atalanta. And I think, don't get me wrong, Keita, he puts in a shift every now and again when he's not injured. But I'd personally, for me, experience, I don't think, for me, Keita's not equipped for this type of game. He's too put your head down with the ball and run and don't look up and then do a wayward pass and then he loses the ball. You do that against someone like City, you're going to be punished massively.
Looking at the last 6 meetings in all games, I mean, this is an interesting one. I love looking at sort of statistics like this. Looking at the last 6 meetings, obviously they beat you 4-0 back in July. You beat them 3-1 in November last year, so a year ago. There was a draw back in the August of 1-1. I think that was in the Community Shield. City beat you 2-1. Then there was a draw. Like, games have all been pretty narrow between the two of you, barring City's thumping of you. However, I always felt that 4-0 thumping was a little bit. You'd won the league, hadn't you? It was. I don't know. I always felt like that game was a little bit kind of. It's the word I'm looking for here. I don't really think you guys were at the races that day. I don't think you were mentally there. You were on the beach already. I think it's not a fair reflection of the two teams. And Man City are not 4-0 better than Liverpool Football Club. It was a bit of a freak result in relation to that. But it's an interesting one, really. You know, I think they've had 2 wins. You've had 2 wins. There's been 2 draws in the last 6 games. It's so even between the two of you. Lineups are going to be important. It's going to be so interesting to see how Van Dijk being missing plays a major part in that.
If we're being honest, Terry, yeah, you know how you said you don't know if they're going to be 4-0 better than them. I think they could be. Do you know what I mean? I'm hoping for a draw, but I don't know how this Phillips kid is going to perform in a game like this against caliber Man City. Man City's players type caliber, innit? It's going to be really tough because you know how Man City are with that high press. They're going to be pressing on them, and we've seen Liverpool crumble against Aston Villa, Leeds with Van Dijk. This time they've got no Van Dijk, they got no Fabinho, defensively that just looks shaky. I can't lie. Obviously, I know, you won the other games, which is a good thing. Like, I've even said it. Like, I got to congratulate Man City for winning Liverpool for winning those games, even with their injuries. But this is a different animal you're coming against. This is not Atalanta or all these pretenders. This is a real animal you're coming against, man. So don't be surprised in it. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I can't lie. I'm just thinking. I'm looking at. In some of the big games, we have also seen Salah play up front, and I wouldn't be surprised if we will see that again this weekend, because we know that City's line can be exposed to pace, especially if they've got Kyle Walker pushing up. So because they don't have the quickest centre backs, I wouldn't be surprised if we see either Mane or Salah start up front, have Jota, and see Bobby playing in the 10. But I don't know. I don't see it being a 4-0 City game, because I think Klopp is, dare I say it, more savvy in these types of games than Pep. So I really do think that if it's a tactical battle, Klopp will probably win it.
I think what's worth focusing on as well, we haven't really spoke about City yet, and we will. This is also a big test for the likes of Diaz. It's the toughest game that City are going to play in so far this year. I'm really intrigued to see how Torres gets on in this game, whether he starts or not. The advantage City have over Liverpool going into this game is they have more of their first team players fit, ready, and available to go. But I think City have got a lot of things as well. As you say, City haven't been, up until their Champions League game this week, City haven't been amazing. I mean, they outside of the Champions League, and we all know that Champions League form doesn't always represent what you're doing in the Premier League. If you look at their Premier League performances, I was looking at this earlier. They beat Wolves, but they were lucky in the second half not to be pegged back. Wolves missed, I would say, 3 or 4 gilt-edged chances. They could have done it. They got beat 5-2 by Man City, and since then they haven't scored more than 1 goal in a game. They drew with Leeds. They scraped past Arsenal 1-0. They drew 1-1 with West Ham, and they scraped past Sheffield United 1-0.
If they're up for any game, they're going to be up for this one.
But I'm glad you brought that point up, Terry, right? Because when we got beat by 7-2 by Aston Villa, which was just absolutely awful, no one concentrated on that fact that City had just been bossed at home by Leicester. Leicester, that could have been 6 or 7 or 8. They were absolutely bossed by Leicester, and Terry, no one's talking about that.
On that last game against Sheffield United, I watched that game, and that game, they were shocking. Like Sheffield United, if they had lumped that ball up to Ollie McBurney, who's one of their biggest assets, if they had lumped that ball up to Ollie McBurney, they would have caused loads of problems for City.
Yeah, and Brewster stupidly tried to chip the goalkeeper as well.
And that as well.
Sorry, let me just address this Nat Phillips thing, because I saw that super chat. Nat Phillips is not on piss. I just want to let this guy, Khalil Hassan, know that right now. If you play Nat Phillips, you're losing that game. I guarantee you. He's not got what it takes to play. It's all well and good playing against Sheffield United with Ryan Brewster. Has he even scored a Premier League goal? It's all well and good defended against him, but when you're coming up against world-class players, Nat Phillips is not the guy, bro. So please, just drop.
One thing.
He's talking about pocketing Sterling and Aguero. Come on, man.
We'll see.
Now, one thing that if either Phillips or Williams are gonna play, I want them to be aggressive with them players, because when I watched Phillips, he was aggressive, and that's what we sort of lacked with Joe Gomez. He looked a little bit lightweight.
Yeah, well, Gomez probably in these games I'm talking. Go back to the game against Midgetland. Like, I know I'm saying on purpose, by the way, like he got. Especially for that at the end, I don't know what Dreyer was trying to do, some weird chip over the goalkeeper. How easily he went past Joe Gomez, I found it staggering, because Joe Gomez is a player I rate highly. But on City, just finalizing the point on them, this is a big test for Liverpool without Van Dijk. There's been a lot of question marks from people about form and about the defensive solidity. This is going to be a big asset test, this game and then Leicester. But Man City, it's the same. Their next two games are Liverpool, and then they have Tottenham. And I think that there's been loads of shock results this season, but when you look at City's potency, you look at their tiki-taka, you look at the money they've spent, to have only scored 4 goals in their last 4 Premier League games, to only have won 2 of their last 4 Premier League games, drawing with Leeds, who, by the way, I think are the most overrated team in the Premier League. They're just, you know, like they're boxers. They've just got a haymaker. They just swing haymakers and see if they catch you on the chin. They've got no
defense.
There's nothing to them. There's nothing to them at all. And by the way, they're number 1 ranked in the league at the minute for like pressing, running, harrying. By February, dead. By February, exhausted. And people keep saying, Bielsa, magician, Bielsa, philosophy, Bielsa. Listen, the reason that guy is like 87 years old and has never been at a big club is because he hasn't got what it takes. People are talking about Bielsa like he's 34 years old, phenom on the way up. This man's old, bro. Honest to God.
I wouldn't say that, Terry, man. I would say he doesn't want to. He's an old school manager like the Fergies and that, whereby he wants to control everything. That's the only reason why he hasn't gone to a big club. Because I swear Barcelona came in for him. He rejected them.
Maybe. Man, it makes me laugh when people act like he's really. I'm like, this guy has to get the prostate checked like 5 times a year. Hey, bro. You know what I'm saying? He's not young. He's an old guy. But it's going to be. This is why this game is so interesting, because we might see both teams be poor and go, we don't know nothing yet. But I think the one team that elevates themselves over these next couple of games, I think become the front runners to win the Premier League. My money personally is on Liverpool. I think you're actually going to give them a slap. I think
you made a valid point before about City's defence as well. And going back to Monster's comment, and this goes in with your commentary that you said, Monster said before that our defence, this is a different kettle of fish. This is a totally different animal. Well, Ruben Diaz hasn't faced the best animal in the league yet, which is our front three. And I think it's going to test their defence massively. And I think if we can go there, put the press on early, get an early goal, City's heads are going to drop like they have every other single game. As soon as Leicester put one past them, bang, head dropped, and then they got battered.
Let me ask you a question on that. I think we've all seen that from City. City, for me, this year, they could still win the league because of the quality that they possess. It would also mean Liverpool would have to fall off massively, in my opinion. However, what do you think's made this City team? By the way, they got beaten the league last season more time than Ole Gunnar, PE teacher, Solskjaer's Man United team. They've already been beaten in the league this year once and drawn 2 games. They would have dropped a lot of points. Why do you think City are no longer at their potent best? What's your opinion?
I think they're tired. I think they're tired of him.
No,
I think they're worn out of the tactics.
I think it's because they don't have a leader. Like I've said it before, their company's gone. It's like Terry. I think Terry and Adam might understand, because they had leaders in their team back in the day with Arsenal United. Company for them was like Arsenal's Vieira, and if he's gone,
he was their John Terry basically, literally.
And once he's gone, the team would just fall apart. The mentality will go. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and people, yeah, that's true. I mean, they've been missing him. He's one of the greatest centre backs to touch the league, better than Virgil van Dijk. Let's be honest. Am I lying though? Am I lying?
Look. I said
right.
5 years. I said 5 years. Yeah, give Virgil
No.
5 years.
He's better. He was better than Van Dijk. I'm sorry, you don't win one Premier League, and someone else has won 4, and he's, you know what I mean. Sorry, he's better than Van Dijk.
He's like greater. He's greater.
Do you know what I like about Company? Company as well used to be a midfield player. And he moved back. Like he used to be, he was a DM. When I bought him on Football Manager in 2009, 2010, that guy was a central mid. And he always used to go to, if you didn't buy him on that game, he always used to go to Arsenal. And that's because he was heavily linked for, he's another one of them players that Arsenal missed out on Van Dijk. And I remember for 4 or 5 years running, some of you kids, Ram and David would be too young to remember, Arsenal were the ones linked with Van Dijk and Company for years when they were younger. Like, imagine they should have been a centre back pair.
Let's not talk about it.
Wow.
Your team missed out on so much, bro. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Listen, we're talking about Liverpool and City, innit? Let's not talk about Arsenal.
I'm just saying. There's a connection there.
Ram is right in terms of they are missing that leader in Company, and since then, and not only that, they just look worn out. Like they look tired of Pep's tactics. They just don't look up to it anymore.
Yeah, I agree with Monster. I agree with Monster, and I agree with Ram. I think they lack a leader, and I think what Monster said there, I think he's hit the nail on the head. Pep Guardiola's always got this thing, hasn't he, where he goes to a team, it's that like 2 or 3 year syndrome where the teams just start to completely drop off and they get bored of the tactic. I don't know what happens, but it's just a common thing that seems to follow Pep. He did it at Barcelona, he done it at Bayern Munich, and it's happening again at City. I think it's just this. It's something that you just can't explain.
Shall I tell you something? It's similar to what Barcelona had when Puyol left. They'll be going down and down and down unless they find someone like him.
No,
but Puyol.
One thing I will give City is that there aren't loads of companies just walking about that they've missed out on. Like those kind of players are rare to find. So like when everyone's like, oh, they haven't got a company, yeah, but who is a company right now? There are very few players that are available for a company.
There's none at all in Europe. Like if Company was, available today, in at the same age as Van Dijk, even let's say, he will be the best centre back in the world. He would be. Do you know what I mean? And let's be honest here, he bossed the Premier. He did boss the Premier League at times. In times where they won the league on multiple occasions, he bossed the best.
I don't know, you know.
You know where Vincent Kompany struggles? Now, KDB gets quite a lot of praise on this, but I think half the reason KDB was getting praise is from rival fans that they ended up winning the argument, but were like desperate for him to be rated above Paul Pogba when he rejoined the Premier League. If Kompany had played for any of the other top 6 who have a sizable fan base, he would have been higher he would have been regarded a much better player. It's like Aguero as an example. Aguero doesn't get the respect that he deserves because he doesn't play for a club with a big enough fan base to push his agenda. And we all know the media are biased towards the bigger clubs. There's no doubt about why, because there's more traffic, and they're not going to. They are better, but they're better. But it's the traffic. They know a Man United story, a Chelsea story, an Arsenal story, a Liverpool story sells newspapers and it generates clicks. No one really cares. The only time we all tune in to watch anything to do with City is if City lose, because everyone likes to laugh at them because of all the money. Like whenever City lose a big game, my streams go off the hook. If City win a game, about 8 people tune in. It's like, you know what I'm saying? So it's on that level. But I think for me, on Vincent Kompany, him leaving's part of it. I don't know if it's tired of Pep. I just think that Pep has no pedigree of rebuilding a team. None. As great
you're right there, yeah.
There is no history and track record of either having a great team, it dipping, and then he rebuilding it, or going into a club where the team isn't already very good and taking it on to that next level. He hasn't gone and done what Jurgen Klopp has at Liverpool, gone into a team that has, the players that you had in your squad. Yes, you nearly won the league a year before, but that was literally it in 20 odd years. He's never gone into a club and done that. He hasn't done what Fergie's done and awoken a giant from nowhere. He hasn't done what Jose has done by going to a Porto and making them European champions, or going into an Inter Milan and making them do a treble. Do you get where I'm coming from? So I think what now City are going through is Pep's gone in, he's done what he's done, he's taken a brilliant team and made them even better, broke records, won leagues, the dips happened, and I think it's Pep. I think Pep's got no desire or hunger.
guys, let's not forget, Pep did not inherit a good team. Don't forget, he was still playing with Clichy, with Sanya, with Kolarov, with all them man there. He even bought Nolito and then sold him the following season. Claudio Bravo, Joe Hart. Like, he didn't have a good team when he first started.
They were
but
league winners.
Adam,
They were league winners.
Adam, Paul was still
but
there.
Adam, to be fair,
Yeah.
Paul was still there.
No, Pep as a manager is one of the. He comes in, you have a standard, and he'll either keep you at that standard or he'll raise your level to like. But you're already at the top, so raising your level is cool, but it doesn't really like you don't win anything extra.
All of those guys.
Klopp will like when Klopp goes into his dip after he's done the good bit, it tends not to go very well. But he does have evidence of building teams up. Klopp and Pep's just come in at the top, keeps you at the top, breaks records, and then when the dip happens, he just leaves. Like Bayern Munich, he didn't leave because he did badly. He left because he was like, "Oh, I'm just tired.
I can't do anymore."
Yeah, I hear it. But I do think that
each of the teams he inherited winners. At Barcelona, majority of the team that he had won the Champions League, they won the double or treble a couple seasons before with Frank Rijkaard. Bayern Munich, they had won the treble the season before he got there. Man City, a couple years before, they won the Premier League and I think the League Cup.
They went to the Champions League semi-final the season before as well.
Yeah, so it's not like he's inheriting jokers. He's inheriting good players.
That's what I was going to say, yeah.
It's a bit like Chelsea. So, like, Chelsea kind of, when, like, Kante came in and took over Chelsea, they were Premier League champions only a year or so before. Like, Lampard came in and took over a squad, again, that had lots of fairly recent Premier League champions within it. It's very different from taking over from a squad that hasn't won a league.
I don't know what you're talking about. Frank Lampard took us from, like, 20th place and like built us up, and we're in top 4 now. Best
no,
David.
I'm
joking. I'm joking.
What's man been smoking? That's the thing with all of this, and I think that like this isn't even a slant at Pep Guardiola. Like, what I'm desperate for Pep to do is I'm desperate for him to leave City and then go take over an AC Milan and make them great again. I'm desperate for him to go to a club that's either been great and hasn't been for a while and make him brilliant again, or go to a club that's never really been a superpower and make. Do you get what I mean? Like go to. Like, if you went PSG and became European champions, that would have that impact for me. I want him to go and do something that's slightly outside the norm for him, and that's what I want to see him do. But Pep and Klopp both, there's a task coming for Klopp this year, maybe next year. Sometimes you can stay motivated when you're on your way up the ladder, but it's when you reach the top. The one thing about both Pep and Klopp is their styles are so intense that I think once you achieve your goals, or you achieve a certain amount of your goals, it's hard for them and everybody else around you to keep going, because I think it's a very tiring way of going to things. You start your seasons and it's a million miles an hour from day one, where managers of the past have maybe been a bit longer lasting. Everything's been a little bit slower paced. If you get what I mean, it's almost tortoise in the hair. If you look at the length of time these managers last at clubs now compared to really successful managers in the past. But it's going to be an interesting one to see what actually happens. I think with Pep Guardiola and his leadership. But I certainly think it's his last season, win, lose or draw. Well,
it has to be. I mean, he's been there 5 years now and spent nearly £1 billion. £1 billion.
He's been there a while, isn't it?
A billion in 5 years. And what have Man City achieved if they won the Champions League?
I'm not going to do that.
Hold on. They have achieved, because come on, they're the first team to win the domestic treble.
No, of course,
they,
yeah.
They
but
hit
I'm not.
100. They hit 100 points, and what else?
I think what Terry's argument is, with that sort of money, surely you should be achieving a quadruple, something like that.
No, what I'm trying to say is that Pep Guardiola, when he first joined Man City, he was told win the Champions League. He's had 5 years to do it and spent £100 billion, and what's he done?
Yeah. So domestically, he killed it. But one of his main objectives, in my opinion, was to win a Champions League. And if he doesn't, and I think that was the ultimate objective. So there is an element of failure, but I wouldn't call it a complete failure. There's a comment here that says, Terry, this should be titled, "Can Liverpool stop the Man City juggernaut? You're so biased." That's the weirdest comment. I'm biased towards Liverpool. Do you know what I love about football fans? How they're rice puddings, man. They're rice puddings because I'm a Manchester United fan. My biggest rivals are Liverpool. Whenever I criticize Liverpool, I'm seen as a hater. I put a title in that's supposedly favorable towards Liverpool, and now I'm a City hater because I love Liverpool. Every day I love someone. This is mad. What do they think I am? Alfie. Like, literally loving different women.
Alfie Moon.
I mean, Alfie is in the 1960s Michael Caine film Alfie. That's a good film, people. There was a remake done by Jude Law. Not as good, but there we go. Some people are mad. Terry, do you have any concerns about the Everton game? Yes, I did a preview already. That's already out today. That's already on the channel. Make sure you're hitting that like button, please, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go into some of your comments now. Get your super chats in, people. We want to know what you're thinking and you're feeling. LFC Rancia says, with Barcelona and Bayern, they had top 5 players in each position with Guardiola. Apart from Sterling and KDB, there is no one.
Wait. I just
possess the information that Pep provides.
I just clocked. Didn't he have the World Cup winning partnership of Boateng and Hummels in his team?
He did.
At some point.
He did, yeah.
And that's
Wait,
but hold on. He won the league every single season he was there. He broke 100 points.
Hold on.
Like,
someone
bro,
did he just say only KDB and De Bruyne? So what about Company and what about Aguero? Do they not count as well?
Listen. I don't understand.
I don't get this. I don't get what this isn't it, Adam. They're saying this guy should have won a treble when only like 8 out of how many thousand managers have ever done it in like
realistic.
The last person you're saying he should have won a quadruple. The last person to win a quadruple was Pep Guardiola. This is what only 1 or 2 managers in the history of football have done it, and you're like, oh yeah, you should just do it automatically. Like, to me, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up.
I'm not saying he should have won a quadruple. I'm saying he should have won the Champions League within 5 years and spent £1 billion. That's my argument.
I hear what you're saying.
When you look at what Klopp has done, Klopp has done with, I think he was starting from a worse position than what Pep started with. And he's done a much better job in that respect. So it's difficult to say, but even in that, I just don't know, man. I think the style of football probably doesn't lend itself to winning football, especially when people have kind of figured him out. Klopp, I think he's kind of revolutionized his team and his playing style, and Pep probably hasn't. So
you know what don't help Man City on Pep teams are, and this is going to sound controversial, but I mean it. Pep's football, when it's brilliant, is so good it makes football matches boring. They're not competitive. And I know that some
Barcelona
people
used to be so boring to watch.
Yeah, I used to watch when he was at Barca, when City were at their best. I'd watch the game, and I respect how they were so good that no one could lay a glove on them. But I'd watch it, and it was like, I can't be bothered to watch because I know how this is going to go. It was like, I don't know, if you're boxing fans, you know this, or MMA fans. Sometimes you get fight matches, and you're like, this is one of the easiest fights that Anthony Joshua is ever going to have. It's going to be easy. You don't watch it. It's boring. Yeah, exactly.
Whenever Khabib fought and he just wrestled the guy to the ground, like
Khabib's fights have just got to that point. Like for me, I'm not going to slag Khabib off. Like for me, it was like man needs to go up a weight category or two so the people are harder. Like it got to a point where his fights were boring because they were so easy for him. Now it isn't saying that that's detrimental to him. Like Mayweather had the same issue. Mayweather's legacy isn't tarnished, but a lot of people don't look at him as one of the great. Some people don't look at him as one of the greatest because they're like, but the fights are boring. And that's an opinion piece, but that's how I've always felt about Pep Guardiola. Whenever I've watched these teams at their best, I'm like, oh, well, when Liverpool have been at their best, when Chelsea have been, maybe not, when Arsenal have been at their best.
We played some great football. That Conte counter attack was,
but it's scintillating. But the games were there. Like there's almost this element of winning a game that either side could have won. It lives longer in the memory than City went 2-0 up and then they just kept hold of the ball for 70 minutes. I just find that boring personally. Maybe it's a preference thing for me.
Then Mourinho 1-0 were entertaining for us Chelsea fans. Very entertaining.
Someone's just said in the comments then, why don't you get a City fan on? Because the 2 and far between, mate, they haven't got any fans.
I reached out to a few City fans and none came back to me. So, so much, I can't hold on forever. Otherwise, we never get a show done. Super chats here. First one says, Pep had company Sterling,
Oh
Gundogan,
my god, I'm sorry.
Kevin De Bruyne, Aguero,
He's
Sane,
a Navas.
David Silva, maybe not Jones.
Oh,
yes.
Man's bringing in Gundogan, Navas, Stone.
oh, Gundogan's a baller, bro.
Gundogan's a baller, bro. What you saying?
No, but he's not on that level, though.
And a finished Yaya Toure. Be sensible, bro.
Okay,
Come
but
on.
Sane, yes, but David Silva, what?
Sané, bro.
David Silva
Like, he
is
was
another
sick.
example of Premier League player who, because he's at City and the fan base ain't big enough, he gets slept on. Like in terms of those number 10 sort of secondary striker great players, he is up there with all the greats in Premier League history. David Silva, all
What
of
he was
them.
doing with Spain, unbelievable.
I would
man.
actually say that he's been more impactful in the Premier League than say Dennis Bergkamp. Better than
Adam's about to slap
Adam's
your head.
Wait, hold on. If David Silva was at an Arsenal during that era, I think they would have been ranked around the same. What's it called, innit? Because you don't win 4 Premier League titles the way he did, and play as good as he did. And you know what I mean? It's just because he plays for City, and City ain't got no fans. Simple as that.
If he played for Arsenal, he wouldn't have been rated. He wouldn't have been rated.
Yes, he would have. You're lying.
Nah,
Yes,
nah,
he
nah.
would
He
have.
would've
Yes,
been
he would have.
lying. You are
You're
lying.
lying. Yes, he would have. Because
He would've been
hold on, Terry. He's not just a multiple Premier League winner. He's a World Cup and multiple European Championship winner. Yes,
Yeah.
he would, bro.
He is. That David Silva's career. We can debate the player debate will become boring because everyone's going to give a different nuance. But David Silva's career, in my opinion, is better than Dennis Bergkamp's Premier League career.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough.
He's won
I don't know if I
Premier
can
League
just put it down to Premier League. I'd have to look at it. But if you're talking about career overall,
Oh,
then
but
yeah.
is your trophy?
I think if you're talking about it on the basis of
Premier League
honours
title, bro.
in the Premier League,
He's had a better career than Dennis Bergkamp. Like,
But considering how much
Yeah,
Arsenal fans
really.
used to rate Ozil, you would have rated David Silva. That simple.
he's better than
Yeah,
He was better than
yeah.
No,
we
no,
would've-
and Monto, what I'm saying is that they had Ozil for that small period of time and they were all raving about him. So to say that they wouldn't have rated David Silva at all.
No, I'm not even saying I'm saying other fans. If he played for Arsenal, other fans wouldn't have rated him that much. That's what I'm trying to say.
That's not true. Everyone here rates Henry.
You know what?
see, I disagree, Adam. I disagree.
Thomas Partey, before he came to Arsenal, was world class. He had
Who?
one game for
Who was?
Arsenal.
No.
Wait, who was?
He is world
He was dead. So yeah, I don't think David Silva would have been rated as highly as he is if he played for Arsenal.
But for years, though, listen, the Burke. I'm just you. Look, Bergkamp is a Premier League icon. He's a world class footballer. He's an absolute phenom. I loved watching Dennis Bergkamp play. I'm not even trying to disrespect him here. I'm just saying that. Take it away from him then, because I picked a real big legend. They play different roles, but obviously football has changed over this course of time. We look at like David Silva versus Ozil. Ozil at his peak at Arsenal was rated higher by the general Premier League football fan than David Silva was at Man City, and David Silva has always been better than Ozil.
Yes.
That
yes.
is true.
100%.
That is
100%.
true.
Listen,
100%.
Whether when it was I remember him when he was at Valencia, unbelievable. When he came to Man City, come on, man. People
Wasn't he part of that 2008 winning
Yeah, bro.
Euro
He's,
final?
honestly, he's done everything. He's done everything.
One title in Spain, won a league in
He's done it
Spain,
all, bro.
won a league, 4 leagues in England. Come on,
Might
man.
win it again this season.
I saw someone comment that David Silva never got to the Champions League final, but Dennis Bergkamp did. David Silva won a World Cup and a European Championship. Dennis Bergkamp never got close. So
Dennis Bergkamp lost.
I'm not trying to disrespect him, but I'm just saying.
You are, but I'm not going to have it. David Silva, Dennis Bergkamp, like, they're not level, so I can't. I haven't got it.
What I'm trying to point out with the Bergkamp thing is like that is the level of conversation that David Silva,
should be
Aguero.
Yeah,
that's where they should be discussed. And often I find the only reason, in my humble opinion, that KDB gets thrown into that mix is because there was this whole Pogba versus KDB thing. And then suddenly Man City get all the rivals of Man United go behind them as an example. Yeah. They're like, they want to elevate him above. And it's the same as, you know, if it's a little bit like with Vincent Kompany gets it because a lot of Liverpool's rivals don't want Van Dijk to have been elevated higher than he is, and that's who can we use? We haven't got a player in our own squad that we can put up against, we can put up shoulder to shoulder. Like Liverpool fans can't be like, right, listen, man, Henderson, and KDB, bro, they can't do it. So they have to pick a technically gifted player at another club and use it whichever way around they're going to do.
The way I look at the argument is if David Silva was playing for Madrid at the time when Arsenal bought him, would have Madrid have let David Silva go? Hell no.
No.
I tell you what, it's the likes of Aguero and company
way.
and probably David Silva and maybe even Kevin De Bruyne. I think it's because they play for Manchester City. That they're not going to be up there.
If company had won 4 Premier League titles with a Liverpool, God knows where he would be up there with the football gods. Do you know what I mean? That's
Company, no, but in fairness, company still is up there with the football gods. Company is
I know, but he doesn't get the praise.
But he's
How many
not
Premier Leagues did John Terry win? Is it 5?
5. 5? Was it 5? Yeah.
5.
Yeah, it's 5.
It might have been 6. Was it 5 or 6?
No, it's 5. We've only won 5.
You only won 5, yeah. You won all of them.
My bad.
Look at Adam, he's
Was he heavily involved in the last one? Did he play regularly?
No, he wasn't heavily involved.
Nah,
in
bro,
that.
remember he came and
He came on and then came back off after 26
That was embarrassing. That's one of the reasons why. That's one of the 2 reasons with John. Actually, there's 3 reasons with John Terry. Won't go into one of them on the air. Why for me, I knock him down the pecking order. But the 2 most cringe things he did outside of real wrong things is one, celebrating the Champions League final with his full kit on. I found that just so embarrassing. And the second thing, it wasn't even they subbed him off at 26 minutes and gave him like a guard of honor standing ovation, whatever it was. It's the fact that he organized that. Bro, if you still say, thank you. No, it's about the football match. It's the fact that the whole thing came to a standstill and it was the man's idea.
No, we do it with all our legends. Drogba got carried off.
We didn't do it with no. We didn't do that with with Lampard and Drogba, man. We didn't do it.
No, Drogba got carried off. Drogba got carried off.
But we didn't bring him on 11 minutes and sub him off. 11.
Oh yeah, no, we did do all of that. We did do all of that. No,
yeah, I mean, we won't even go into the stuff with Anton Ferdinand, of course, Wayne Bridge when it comes to John Terry. That stuff just
yeah.
But yeah, it's somebody.
Did you not see the other day? Sky Sports did a poll when they said that Vidic was the best and Van Dijk is second, and Van Dijk's only won 1. So if company had won 4, clear, gone.
See, I don't even. The maddest thing is, like, I get like everyone has a different kind of level to what's right and wrong. As a defender, one of the reasons I rate John Terry so high and maybe at the highest level is that he didn't have the physical attributes in terms of speed and the technical attributes of a lot of the other top defenders. When you think of the Sol Campbells, the Ledley Kings, the Rio Ferdinands, the companies, the Van Dijks, as football players, technically, they are leaps and bounds in front of John Terry. But John Terry, he angled in on certain other attributes and kept it to the elite level for a long time. It's why I rate Gary Neville so much. Gary Neville shouldn't have ever really been a football player. He says it himself in his book about how far behind he was other players. But it's the work he put in to get there. I'm like, a man was like the best in the league for like 15 years. For me, it's like I respect that a lot because what you've had to do to get there. But it's
I think John Terry has to be included though, doesn't he? In one of the greatest defenders ever. Yeah, I think John Terry. I mean, he was different, wasn't he? He was aggressive. He was commanding. He got in your face, you know, as a teammate if you didn't do what he wanted you to do. I mean, I'm a Liverpool fan, and I remember those Champions League games in the early 2000s, Liverpool versus Champions League semi-finals. And every time he was playing on the pitch, I used to dread it, and I just used to be like, "Oh, we're not going to score a goal." And then you'd see Drogba up front, and then you'd see Malouda, and then you would just like SEN as well, and you were just like, oh my god,
animals.
Premier League all-time 11. He gets in.
Any team that concedes 15 goals was it in a
15 goals?
Yeah, that is just it's
unbelievable. I think it's quite insulting that people mention best Premier League defenders, and I don't hear Ricardo Carvalho's name in there. But
and that's another one
I'll accept it.
He gets disregarded, and I think there's so many that go unnoticed. I mean, Tony Adams always seems to get missed out. Carvalho's another one that gets missed out.
I think with the Carvalho, it's because he didn't have that longevity that you
definitely.
Maybe an Adam.
And sometimes I think it's about the person you are as well, in the sense of Carvalho. Like, I don't ever remember hearing from him. I don't remember there being any kind of buzzer, because he just kind of played his football, went home, cracked on. Sometimes do you know what I mean? And I always felt that's one of the reasons why Paul Scholes was never as regarded as some other midfielders. He was just to himself, There was no PR. He weren't posing in underwear. I mean, not that anyone would want to buy underwear with Ginger Man in it. Like, you know what I mean? Ed Sheeran's really popular, but he ain't doing no underwear commercials. You know what I mean? Like, I can imagine like Paul Scholes doing like underwear modeling would have been the equivalent of watching what's that dude's name, like Lewis Capaldi doing it. Do you know what I mean? It just doesn't have the appeal you want it to have. Sorry, Scholes, I love you, but it's stick to the football. For City fans, it will be a midfield battle on Sunday. Lucky for City, Liverpool have two of their best midfielders injured.
True.
So let's get down to score predictions ahead of this game. Let's get down to score predictions ahead of this game. We're going to Adam first. Actually, we're going to Adam last on this. We're going to Terry Tibb first. Where's the game going to be won and lost, and who's going to win?
I think it's going to be 2-2. I think it's going to be a high scoring game, and I think the battle is going to be lost in both defences. I think it was Adam who said earlier as well about the defensive City not coming up against a team like us with our attacking prowess that we've got. And Monster said the same thing with the City's attacking prowess with our defence. So I think you're going to see a few goals get leaked, and I think it's going to end up as a draw. Definitely.
Great shout, Monster. What you saying, bro?
I think the game is going to be won and lost in midfield. I think obviously not only is Liverpool missing Thiago, who's just a midfield dynamo, but they're also missing Fabinho in that midfield. And I don't know how we're going to work out defensively. But I am praying for a draw. I think City might win this one about 2-1.
David Shawarima.
I'm probably going to go 2-1 City. I just have a feeling that City are just going to beat you. I don't know why. I just think they will. I think it'll be very close. But like, yourself. I feel like having like Kevin De Bruyne for me is the best player on that pitch, and I feel like in these close games, the team often with the best player on the pitch, as long as that player performs, they'll win. And I feel like De Bruyne very rarely doesn't perform.
To be fair, though, David, we could be playing Stockley Bridge FC and you'd still say they'd beat us.
I literally came on the other day and said, well done to you. And everyone was, and literally never got credit for it.
Hang on, why are you wearing another club shirt, David?
Because this is a sick shirt.
Yes,
and I like it.
Oh, wow.
It's a lovely shirt. It's a lovely shirt.
Ram, where's the game going to be won and lost, and who's going to win?
I think people underestimate the forward line, like the movement. I think if Jota plays, we need to have that movement. With that, the front three's movement is going to be incredible. But you also have to look at like City's front line is just got one of the most technical players in Riyad Mahrez and Sterling who just dart into the box. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I'll say 2-1 to Liverpool.
I didn't mean to click on that. Sorry, it's my mistake. Sorry. I
was like, what did I say that was bad?
I didn't even mean to do it. My finger just clicked on it. I was like, when you click it, it takes like a second for it to come back off. Adam, what you saying? Who you predicting to win this game and why?
I do think it's going to be a draw, but I do think that Mane is going to have a lot to say about KDB being the best player on the pitch. I think it will probably be won in like a tactical way. I can see Klopp kind of, he like dialed down his press last season. I think it's probably one game. He'll probably tell the front line to press that extra little bit harder because they don't have that protection of Fabinho and Van Dijk. So yeah, I see it being a draw, but I see it being pretty end to end. And yeah, I probably agree with Terry and say that it's going to be a 2-2.
Please be a draw.
So my view, a lot of people say midfield battle. I understand why. I think it's going to come down to whose defense can stay the strongest throughout the course of the game, because both teams have potent attacking threats. There's no doubt they're going to press each other in the right areas and allow each other to have the ball in the others. I think the midfield will be important, but not as much as the attacks, in the sense of it's the defense that holds out. If Liverpool can defend well, keep their shape, and not allow themselves to be exposed, they will beat City because they're a better team than City from front to back, in my opinion. There's no doubt about it. They have two of the best attacking players in the Premier League and the best attacking player of the last 4 years in Mohamed Salah. And they have Jota, that's the most informed player. And that guy can move into a striker role, left, right, or drop deep. He's absolute mustard. The only way it goes wrong for Liverpool is if they have a defensive disaster class. If Joe Gomez gets ripped open too easy, like we saw against Midtjylland, if they're opened up in the same way that Villa, in the same way that even when they played Sheffield United, it was the openings that were created. Now, Sheffield United don't have the ability or the quality to punish you from breaking those lines. Manchester City will. That's where it's going to be won and lost for me. But I do think I think Liverpool are going to surprise people. I think the performance midweek was a sign of things to go on, how in terms of they're going to improve as a team. I'm going with a 3-1 Liverpool win. And it's going to be one of those, I think it could be one of those results which really starts to it almost instantly ends City's title charge. They're going to go 8 points behind. They then have to come back after the international break and play Tottenham away that are in good form. They will lose that game as well and end up being 10, 11 points off the top. Title charge for them over as soon as the season has begun. I'm going with a comfortable, competent, strong Liverpool win 3-1.
Wow. I hope you're right, mate. I hope you're right.
Wait, Adam, do you think that Mane's the best player at Liverpool?
Without doubt. Without doubt, bro. Without doubt.
Yeah, I think over the last season and this season, I think he has been Liverpool's best player.
I think it's Salah. Honestly,
I think it's a very people are going to have the difference of opinion over it, aren't they? Because some people are going to like Mane, the way he links up the play, the way he cuts in, how dangerous he is, the way he stops on the ball and he can go from 0 to 100. But then people are going to look at Salah and say, well, the goals that he scored and how quick he is and stuff like that. I mean, for me personally, as a Liverpool fan, I don't care who's better out the two. I'm just glad we've got both of them.
I was about to say,
I'm just glad we've got both of them.
That's the argument of clubs who have been in the mud for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Man United fans are the worst for it. It's like, but I've seen some things today about the problems that Bruno has. Like if you really analyze every football player, you can find problems with them. Barring 1 or 2 players in the world, there are major problems with all football players when you analyze them and focus on them and make them the focal point. And I think what I like about Liverpool fans is they know there's flaws with Salah. They know there's flaws with Mane. They know there's flaws with Henderson. What they tend to focus on with their players is the positive attributes and the great things that they bring to the game. And that positivity, I think, transpires onto the football pitch. We do the opposite. So if I look at Bruno Fernandes as an example, we know there are 4 or 5 passes per game that he plays that the wrong decision don't quite come off. But some people choose to focus on that rather than the things that come off, or rather than the fact that we know he might get a match winner more often than not. In 90% of games, he either creates it or scores it. So I just sort of feel like that's what I like about Liverpool fans, is they just have that positive. Like people try and create these debates. Who's your best attacker? I don't care as long as we're winning games. Firmino, should he be dropped or Jota comes in? I'm happy with either because they're both brilliant players. It's like you can't get them to turn around and say something overtly negative about another one of their players. And lo and behold, they're the team that are in the best position. And I think what fans do and behave, I do think has a part. Otherwise, what's the point of us? But there we go. Listen, everyone who's tuned in, do me a big, a few Liverpool fans saying I'm predicting a Liverpool win for reverse psychology. Mad, man. You are mad. If I say you're not going to win, I'm a hater. I say you are going to win, it's because I'm doing reverse psychology. Man, acting like I'm some sort of witch doctor. You know what I mean? In the voodoo doll out with Jurgen Klopp and sticking pins in it. You're weird. You are weird creatures, I tell you. Creatures. Do me a big favor, everyone who's tuned in today. First of all, thank you. Hit that like and share button. Go into the link in the description below and sign up to the mailing list and the newsletter. Big competitions on the way on there. We're not on Skype, so we can't take your Skype calls. I've obviously just triggered somebody. So they're like, I'm going to phone in. I love when sometimes I know when I say something that's a bit on, like that's a little on the edge, and within seconds you get someone call you. You're like, oh, shit, they're angry. So until next time, take care.